What's up, friends? It's me, Vindy Vondo, everyone's favorite fucking rat, who needs to shave, but is trying to grow his hair out long, so that's why it looks fucking terrible right now. I don't know what to do with it. Just don't mention my hair right now, and then we'll be great in a couple weeks. So, I don't know how to explain why there's no jump video. I did this stream, and then now it's been like over a week since the stream, so it's like, well, I can't upload the jump video. So I'll upload the next one, but I'll have 2 videos out this week, both around this style, but I'll have 2 videos out this week to make up for it. So I don't want to hear any whining and complaining. The VOD is still up on Twitch, so if you really have to know, you can go look at the VOD, but there will be definitely a chapter review this week. This week I'm doing this video and another video, and the next week there will be chapter reviews and, the first real episode of Crafts and I talk about One Piece movies, so we're gonna watch the first One Piece movie, so be excited for that. That being said, this video called The Curse of Popularity, so let's just get into it. So, I think that what I mean by that is, you get these things, I think, anime is very niche, right? And there's like 2 kinds of popularity in anime, right? There's like your typical baseline popularity where something is, popular in the anime community, right? For example, I would say like Clannad or Isaacin, Ping Pong the Animation. These are shows that are popular inside the anime sphere, but aren't necessarily popular outside of that, right? And then you have the shows that transcend what just is like the anime, fandom in a sense, or the anime community, I guess is a better word for it. So those are things like, My Hero Academia is probably the newest example of that. I think there could be an argument made that Sword Art Online was one that did that. Dragon Ball, very clear example. All the big 3, right? One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. Bleach less so, but mainly Naruto and One Piece are things that get so popular that I think they transcend the typical anime community. And I think that you can see that with other things too, right? Like if you want to look at video games, I think there are examples within other things. Like for JRPGs, you could say, Final Fantasy VII maybe. There are things that get so popular that they transcend their communities. And I think that's what I'm talking about really when I talk about the curse of popularity. Because I think this doesn't happen with something like Isaacin. Like, you can maybe see a microcosm of this, but it's not going to be on the same level that all these things I'm going to mention are with MHA. Also, I think before I talk about the ways popularity can negatively affect something, I don't need to mention that obviously it's great if things you like get popular because, really quickly, I just thought of another example. Kimetsu no Yaiba is also is the most recent example, actually, of an anime transcending that kind of sphere it's in, right? Like, Kimetsu got so popular that it transcended, just the anime community. And so, and obviously it's great when these things get popular, just for example, you get more people liking it means, MHA gets popular, so we have the movies, right? Obviously, any manga that even gets somewhat popular, you can have physical volumes for. There's something that's more popular now, but, there was a period of time where only the popular stuff or things that they knew were going to sell well would get physical manga. So that is, a big thing. Figures are things people like. Just more merch in general. More porn is drawn. More fan art in general is drawn. You get a bigger community to talk about these things with. So I think that there are definite, clear benefits to popularity. And I'm not saying that people, like, Horikoshi is not sitting around being like, damn, I wish MHA wasn't super popular and making me a lot of money. Because he's not at all, right? But I do think that, like, there is a level where, especially as a fan of these things, or just in general in terms of the overall discussion and kind of culture surrounding these things that transcend their communities, I think there is this curse that comes along with it. And you can find a lot of these similarities between a lot of these different shows, and so I'm going to talk about them. And sure, some of the things I'm going to say may not apply to you, but if you're the kind of person who I'm going to say some of this shit, and you're going to go hard into, this isn't me, I would never do this, it's probably fucking you, right? Like, I think the general way it goes is if you hear that and you're like, yeah, people do that, okay, you probably don't do that. But if you hear that and you go, no one would ever do that, I don't do that, you're probably the fucking guy that does that, alright? So just listen with an open mind, because I can promise you that all of this happens and is very real. And if you want to deny it, that's cool. You can keep denying the reality we live in. But I like to actually look at it and look at what's going on. So we're going to talk about it. So I think one of the first things is, like, you know, one of the most obvious things that, like, just happens is there's a lot more discussion, right? You get more people talking about My Hero Academia than you have talking about, you know, fucking Yotsuba, like the manga, right? Or even Isaacin, right? It's like astronomically more people talk about My Hero Academia than talk about something else. Or more people talk about Kimetsu than talk about fucking Kingdom, right? So because there's so much more discussion around it, what ends up happening is that there's a lot more misinformation or just bad points, right? And I think sometimes these bad points can enter the public consciousness and be something that people say a lot that only really like, sure, people would still say this if it wasn't as popular, but I think it would be getting it less, and it would be easier to kind of silence the bad points with more good discussion. Like, for example, Naruto is about hard work is a great one. I think one for MHA is, you know, oh, Deku's so dumb, look how long it took for him to use his legs, right? Like, that's just, like, wrong, because it's missing the point of the story in both those cases. And I think that those are things that are created because the story is so popular. There are so many people looking at it. And some of them, you know, some of the people saying this are newer to really looking at these stories and these, because I think something the anime does, and especially a lot of these long shonen do, that a lot of people haven't really experienced in this kind of way, are these long form stories, right? Like, One Piece is fucking long. And so it'll take a long time to do a character arc, because it is this long-form story that you don't get, even if you only watch 13-episode anime, right? You don't get this kind of long-form storytelling. And so, I think that, you know, when people say, oh, well, it took Deku 20 volumes to realize he could use his legs, it's like, well, that's not completely true, because, like, what's going on there is more than that, right? There's a character arc there, and there's, like, symbolism and meaning behind it. And I think that because you have people who, I'm not going to say they're incapable of seeing that symbolism or meaning, but maybe you're missing it, or aren't really looking for it and are just saying things, because there's so many people, you hear that more, and more people are saying that. Which can be really annoying if, you know, you realize, oh, Deku took forever to use his legs because he was trying too hard to be like All Might. And so him using his legs and using shoot style is him growing past just trying to be an All Might shadow and really turning into his own hero. And it's a great character moment for him. So I think that you get stuff like that, and that's just a small example, right? Another example of just terrible things you'll hear about super popular stuff is when people say that you can skip Skypiea because it's filler and their bounties don't change. I've heard that from multiple people. And the fact that people will say something like that, and, like, that's, like, a known kind of meme, I think just proves, you know, when something gets popular and there's a lot of discussion, there's just more terrible points, right? And I think, like, the example is, you know, maybe, say it's, like, one in every, you know, 10,000 people, right? If only 100,000 people have seen your show, it's 1 in 10,000, there's 10 people saying skip Skypiea. But if 10 million people, well, now it's like 1,000 people, right? Is my math right? I think it is. It may be 100. Yeah, it's 1,000 people, I think. I don't want to do the math anymore. Yeah, no, it is. It is. So then you have 1,000 people saying that, right? And I think that the difference there is massive, because even though there's a larger group, 1,000 people saying something about One Piece, when you still like One Piece and look at One Piece discussion, you're going to see it. There's just a higher chance, right? Because, like, if it's 1 in 10, you know, that could be 2 people on all the main sites people talk about anime on. So the chance of you running into it is lower. But when it's 1,000 people, it's a couple hundred. So that's just, like, the first thing, is that, you know, more people talking, more discussion creates more bad points and more just annoying shit, right? Which also leads into, I think, that people, like, who are super fans of something, right? So, for example, the hard My Hero Academia stans, I think, are the perfect example of this more than any other, because they're so different, I think, from even necessarily what you see with the hard One Piece stans or the hard Naruto stans. I think I've kind of seen it with Kimetsu, but I think MHA is a really, really good example, because they're so weird and they're known for being so terrible that, like, I think they're a perfect example to make this point with. And you can make this point with a lot of different things, you know? People talk about with Rick and Morty as well, which I haven't really seen much of, so I'm not going to comment on it. But if I were to talk about the bad Rick and Morty stands, I would just link you Craft Store's YouTube channel. So, you know, I think that, like, when you get these hard MHA stands who are constantly talking about, oh, fucking, Hori is a pedophile for sexualizing these high school girls. It's like, bro, you can tell me that, like, these girls in MHA aren't hot, right? Like, that's first of all, right? It's just, they're hot, it's okay. But also, I think, people who see that and are annoyed by that, right? Also because these are people who generally, I think, are more outside the community or newer, so they aren't as used to the fact that not only is this a common thing in anime and manga, but it's just a part of Japanese culture. And so they come in and they say these things and they force their values, and people who have been around for a lot longer just get annoyed by it, especially when they see them also, maybe sexualizing Bakugo or Deku and Bakugo, or Deku and Todoroki. And it's like, well, how is this okay when you do it but not when we do it with girls, And so there is this level of, like, it's really, really annoying discussion, right? Also, just people who are super fans of something, like, I love MHA a lot. I'd probably give the manga, like, a 9, right? But I'm not saying MHA is a masterpiece. I'm not going to sit here and say that MHA changes the shonen formula or breaks past the bounds of traditional shonen or just something like that, right? Because, like, I have a brain, and I can see that, like, a lot of what it's doing, it's just doing well, but it's not changing the shonen formula, right? It's very much doing its thing and leaving its mark, but it's not, a subversion of the shonen genre or something, which is something I've seen before. So I think that just, you get these super fans who, not only the people who are stans and say, like, just weird shit that, like, really makes you hate them, but also you just get people who, like, hard love the series. And so I think that what ends up happening a lot of the time is that, I know everyone likes to say, oh, well, you're stupid if you let fans affect your enjoyment of a series, but it's more than just letting them affect your enjoyment of a series, right? It's like, I don't like to come out on Twitter and be like, MHA is fucking great. I love My Hero Academia. It's Kino as fuck. Because, like, if I start, like, hard standing MHA, now I'm, like, one of those MHA fans, and I don't want to be associated with them, So I think there's, like, a two-part thing, right? It is, like, yes, it is completely true that fans will affect people's enjoyment of a series. That is just true because, like, people enjoy series. No one enjoys the series for the context of that series. You enjoy a series for the content, for the series, and then, or the content of the series, I'm sorry. No one enjoys a series for the content of the series. You enjoy it for the content of the series, and then the context of your life and what happened in your life that you kind of put into the media and allows you to see it. And that's why people will be so, like, into certain characters, right? It's why people will love Deku, because he was bullied, and maybe they were bullied. Or it's why people maybe love Sanji, right? Because he's a simp, and they're a simp, and they pay $200 to a girl's OnlyFans and hope she looks at them. And Sanji cooks $3,000 worth of food for Nami, and she won't even look at him, So people relate to these characters because of things that go on in their lives. And I think that to act like something that happens in someone's life that they associate with the series shouldn't affect their enjoyment of it is just wrong, because it will 100% of the time, because you can't separate those experiences, especially if someone has a bad run-in with an MHA fan, right? Where, like, the MHA fan was calling him a pedophile because they like Love Live or something, right? And then they're reading MHA, and now they're seeing, Ochaka's big tits, and they're thinking about this terrible MHA fan calling him a pedophile, and, like, they're getting mad, right? And, like, they're not able to enjoy the series as much because that thing that, like, maybe really pissed them off, they're carrying into the series because of that correlation between the two in their brain, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because that, again, that can happen with anything, but a lot of the problem is there's more people like that, so there's a higher chance that you have a run-in like that, so there's more of an opportunity for something like that to happen, right? So that's just I think an important, like, thing. As well, just, I think, and then obviously you don't want to be associated with superfans of something, right? People don't want to come out and be like, yeah, I've watched Rick and Morty, because you don't want to be the Rick and Morty fan, right? And, I think the same thing happens with MHA, but the difference is, like, I think everyone's seen MHA, so I guess the difference is no one wants to come out as loving MHA, right? Because you don't want to be an MHA fan, right? You don't want to be fucking, someone writing Bakugo, Deku fanfiction, So, I think that that's, like, an important, that's a really big part, like, these super fans. And then there's also another problem that I think also stems from these, which is, anime is full of these niche, it's anime is super niche, right? Like, it is a super small community at the end of the day. And the reason I know that is because I will meet someone on Twitter or in one Discord server, and I will see them in a completely different Discord server or interacting with completely different people on Twitter that I never would have thought they knew, right? Like, it's so incestuous and so many people know so many other people the longer you stay in the community that I think because of that, it has like this small niche thing, right? And it's also full of just edgy fucks and, you know, social outcasts and people who maybe didn't fit in and maybe, you know, maybe they were bullied or just have bad relationships with the people that they would call normies in their lives. And so I think that when they see these normies or these, you know, more popular, you know, I don't want to say more well socially adjusted because I don't want to insinuate that everyone who likes anime is autistic and can't, you know, talk to people in real life. I'm not going to be the one to say that. I think that, you know, when they see people like that getting into these series, it does turn them off of the series, right? And it makes them, they're like, okay, well, now if you're going to come into my space and, you know, maybe you made fun of me for watching anime and now you're going to be watching anime, you know, I need to show that I'm better. I'm a better anime fan than you. Oh, you like My Hero Academia? Pfft, that's fucking baby shit, dude. I don't need to like MHA. I'm fucking above that. You know, and so they need to try to put down these people who are newer to them. And some of it is just gatekeeping. And again, you know, I think What the What has a video on why gatekeeping is good. You can watch it. I also think that there's a lot of good points in that video, and I kind of agree with it. I think gatekeeping has its place, but I think it's more than just gatekeeping. I think it's like a want to finally be better than these people that always acted like they were better than them. And so when you get these, you know, and again, this is one I think that is only possible because we're talking about media that transcends the community, right? Because MHA is so popular that people who don't watch anime are watching it. You get these situations where now people are like, okay, another example is because Kimetsu is so popular that Ninja is tweeting about it and about how it's his favorite anime. People want to dunk on Ninja because he's so popular, so they dunk on Kimetsu to then, by proxy, be like, well, you think that fucking Kimetsu is, you know, and that's why you always hear, watch more anime, right? Or read more manga. Because you want to dunk on these people that are new to what you do and prove that, you know, oh, well, I can prove he's not really a real fan, so that makes me a super fan. I'm better at being a fan of anime than him, right? So you want to dunk, so like you dunk on these people and the thing they like to prop up what you do and what you'd like to then have this sense of superiority over someone that's newer than you. And I'm not going to say that I've never done this or, you know, this is something I think everyone does. And I think that it also, and I'm not going to say that they do this intentionally, right? I think that a lot of it is subconscious and that what ends up happening is because of that, it does leave a worse taste of the series in your mouth, right? People, I'm not going to say people don't have legitimate problems with MHA, but I will say that I think people's views of, you know, maybe MHA or Naruto or One Piece or Kimetsu no Yaiba get tainted by these terrible, you know, all this terrible discussion around it. And, like, if you think that, like, these series are popular for no reason, like, there are things in Kimetsu and in Naruto and in One Piece and in My Hero Academia and in even Shonen as a whole or in, you know, any anime you can look at that's transcended or any, you know, game that's so good at transcends or even, like, you know, any content creator, right? Like, you know, someone like Ninja, right? There's reasons that they're popular. There's reasons that people find them entertaining. If you don't personally enjoy it, that's fine. But to act like, you know, MHA doesn't have good aspects to it that get people excited and get people wanting to watch it every year or read it every week, you're just insane, I think. So I think that's an important, like, part of it too. And then I just think on top of that, you know, it does, you know, taint your view. And so you kind of think of MHA in a worse light because of the bad points you see, and maybe you agree with some of those bad points because you just see them so much. You're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Then you get there and you're already, you know, if you hear a bunch of people say it's dumb that it took Deku forever to learn how to kick, you're reading it and you're like, wow, yeah, Deku just kick, you know, because you've already heard that. And so then you get there and you're like, yeah, that is dumb, right? Or you see Naruto's about hard work, and so you're reading it, you're like, wow, Naruto's working hard, Sasuke's working hard, Rock Lee's working hard, and so you see these characters working hard, and you think that the manga's trying to say something about hard work when that's not the case. And so I think that these are, like, important factors to the stories, and these are important reasons that, you know, popularity can affect things. And there's one last point that I think isn't, I can't use MHA as like, because I've been using MHA mainly because it's in front of me, because I just got like the first volume, so it's like on my desk right now because I've been reading it. You know, just rereading the first volume, thinking about stuff, potentially gonna make a video about it. But so it's on my desk, so I've been using it because it's in the forefront of my mind, because like I literally see Deku twice on my desk, right? But this one I can't use MHA as a point for. So this, I'm mainly be using Dragon Ball and Naruto to talk about, which is the fact that some of these things that are super popular were things people liked as kids. So I think what's important about the fact that people liked these series as kids is that specifically, I think, you know, when you like something as a kid, first of all, your view of it's going to be tainted, right? People who watch Dragon Ball as a kid, even now, like even when I read Naruto the first time, or when I end up rereading Naruto this year, I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to read, like, the tuning exams or fucking the Sasuke retrieval arc without thinking about watching it as a kid, right? Like, those two are going to be ingrained in me. And so it's very hard, I think, to get, you know, it's probably part of the reason why I didn't like Sasuke my first time reading through Naruto, because I remember as a kid, I was like, you know, as a kid, you don't fucking understand themes. When I'm fucking, like, 8 years old, you know? I'm like, Naruto's cool. Fucking Shikamaru's a homie. Sasuke, you're kind of a punk bitch, though. I kind of like you, you know? And so that pervades into, I think, people's, like, entire lives. And so when, you know, people, you know, watch Naruto or maybe read it when they're older, they don't try to, and I know, like I said, you know, it's impossible to separate those two things in your mind, right? Like, you like a series for your full context with it. So it's going to be impossible to separate you enjoying it as a kid. But I think that what ends up happening is it makes you more malleable. Like, it's almost like how when you're a kid, you're more malleable to what other people say. When you like something as a kid, I think you're, especially your first run through with it, you're going to be more, because your first run through is going to be super blinded by nostalgia. I think you're going to be more malleable to what other people say about it, like you are when you're a kid, right? Like, in some level, it puts you back into it. And I think that can be super positive. Again, right? You know, I'm sure when people watch Dragon Ball for the first time, they haven't seen it as a kid, especially if they like it, they fucking love it. Because they get blinded with all this nostalgia of remembering Goku beat Frieza. And, like, they get hyped and stuff the same way they did with a kid, and maybe they haven't felt like that as a kid since then. I get that with games a lot, right? Like, when I play, anytime I play Wind Waker still, that being a big game for my childhood, I get blinded by this feeling of adventure I had when I was a kid playing the game, right? Like, I remember me being 6 years old, sailing in this massive sea, giving fish the, you know, just spending hours not even doing the story, just filling out my map and going and exploring these different islands. Those are things that still, you know, affect me with the series now. So I completely get that in a positive way. But I think it does affect it negatively, because if you hear people say, oh, well, have you looked at fucking Naruto since you were a kid? It's kind of bad. It portrays this theme of hard work. Sasuke sucks. You know, Chunin exams are the best part. You know, and you remember loving Rock Lee Gar as a kid because it was awesome. You know, you get there and you're like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. And then you start thinking about, well, I never really watched on Shippuden because I was on Disney XD. And, like, who the fuck paid for Disney XD? You know, that was some pussy shit. Walt Disney's ruining my life. So then you get to part 2, and, you know, you've heard a lot that it sucks, and you're missing that nostalgia you had for it. And so people are like, yeah, this just kind of isn't as good. But when, you know, you really look at it, it's better. And so I think that, you know, this is the one that I think is super positive and super negative at the same time. Because I think the things that you do get nostalgic for that you still like, you're going to have this, like, special feeling that you can only have for media you have nostalgia for in that sense, right? But I also think that it does affect it negatively because of that just malleable factor, right? Because kids are stupid. They listen to what other people say. And, like, again, I think that part of the nostalgia and why it can be so powerful is it makes you feel like a kid again, and it kind of reverts you back to that childlike state. And so I think that because of that, almost, you know, you get as malleable as a kid towards this one thing. And so I think that, you know, those are kind of the main, you know, that's like a really big deal. And so I think those are like the main reasons that I think popularity can really affect things. There are other reasons for sure. If you guys have anything, be sure to leave it in the comments. If you think I'm just stupid and everything should just be as popular as it is, go ahead and let me know that I'm an idiot. But, those are just kind of things I've observed and noticed that I think do really affect series that get super popular. And so when I say the curse of popularity, obviously popularity is still good, right? But with this, I hope to show that, maybe with things like My Hero Academia or Naruto, try to look at it for what it's doing and try to maybe think about these popularity things and if they're affecting your enjoyment of something that's super popular. And if they are, maybe try to give it another fresh glance, right? And a lot of the times, another thing is, the reason people that are newer to these like them so much is because a lot of this stuff doesn't affect them, right? They aren't, super ingrained in the anime community and whatever. If you want to get really fucking digibro with it, Western otaku culture. So because of that, I think you get this level of they aren't as ingrained into it, so they don't care as much if it's popular. Maybe they don't look up as much discussion for it online, because why do they look up anime discussion online? They only look at people talking about sports or, video games, so they don't care as much about anime. And then, they also don't see the super fans. So again, I think these are things that really affect people who are this is a video talking about the curse of popularity in terms of people who are ingrained and entrenched into the anime community. Because, again, a lot of this isn't going to affect someone who kind of sits on the outside, maybe watches a couple anime, maybe watches 2 anime a year, doesn't really get into a lot of discussion on it. This doesn't affect them. This is, if you're watching this video, then you're the person I'm talking about, right? If you're going to go watch anime videos on YouTube and talk about anime on Twitter or in Discord, you're the person I'm talking about. You're the subject of this video, right? But again, that's most of my points. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, this video should be out next couple days after recording this. Another video out later this week. Yeah, and chapter review stream on Sunday, twitch.tv/VindyVondo. I apologize for being lazy. I'll try to stop being a lazy rat. If you like this kind of video, where it's maybe not as edited, it's just kind of me talking, let me know. I ran a poll on Twitter, and I asked if people would want more like this, or less videos, but more like the Dragon Ball video, where it's, longer and super in-depth, and I go really into it. And people wanted more stuff. So I can't promise they'll all be this long. I didn't realize I would talk for 30 fucking minutes. I mean, my recording's 30 minutes. This would probably be 25, 20. I didn't realize I'd end up talking for 30 fucking minutes about the curse of popularity, but I did. So, bear with me. I'm still trying to figure out making videos, and the best way I can do it, the best benefits me, and that y'all are happy with. So this is something I'm going to try. If you want to see more like this, let me know. As always, I appreciate any kind of support, whether it's commenting, liking, subscribing, even just clicking on the video and giving it a view. I appreciate all of that. So thank you guys a lot. Yeah, and I'll see you guys later. Vindy out.